This is a continuation of podcast 158. Please watch part 1 before watching part 2. Coming up in today's podcast.
And he sat there in the middle of the meeting, completely red in the face, and the whole meeting was him just shouting and pointing fingers. And he said, "This happened because of you," and he pointed around. And I remember like him pointing at me. I think I told you I had to write down, they asked me to create a checklist of all of my sins, and I'd every day have to email it off to them. And if by midday I hadn't emailed it, they would ask my dad, like, "Hey, is he okay? Like, has he sent, have you seen him? Like, has he sent his checklist?"
Being fed whiskey and asked to talk about the intimate details of their personal life. Have you masturbated? How did you do it? What did you do with this person? All this stuff is going on today while we speak. This isn't a one-off. This is a daily occurrence all around the globe in the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church.
I don't ever want to find out how any of my family or my loved ones have been affected by your authoritarian control. That's the only thing I'll say. Because then it becomes very, very personal.
Welcome to the Get a Life podcast. Explore survivor stories. Uncover the hidden truths. Join our X-Call conversations. You matter, and so does your story.
And I want to share something which is very close to my heart because it was an important point for me leaving. So when I come back from Australia, just to kind of do the full circle, so we kind of get the, I come back from Australia and a couple of weeks later, I literally pack up my stuff and leave. I still had a job. I kind of, talked with my brother and my dad and said, "Look, I'm not really happy, whatever." They saw where it was going. I was an employee. I wasn't a business owner or anything. I didn't have much to my name. But yeah, I managed to, get a flat, move in, and I ended up meeting this girl that I had already met before. Like at some point I ended up kind of meeting with her, and then we started dating each other and whatnot. Long story short, fast forward to the end of 2018, things stopped working out because when you leave you probably make a lot of bad choices. I made a lot of bad choices, and I probably didn't have all of the right tools in my toolbox to make, intelligent choices and plan and whatnot. That's going to happen. You've got to embrace it. Yep. It is what it is. Just try to minimize the problems that you can have, because it's normal when you start anything new, you're going to knock a few things over, and welcome it. It's part of the ride. Anyway, long story short is supposedly I was going to become a father. I'd separated from this individual, as in we parted ways. And I found out that I was going to become a father. So I was basically, my ex-girlfriend was pregnant. And I was in a very poor spot emotionally when I got that news, as you can imagine. I just, everything they said was going to happen to me had started happening to me. I'd done all the clubbing. I'd gone to the bars. I'd, supposedly dated the girls I wanted to date. And now the girl that I had been dating didn't work out. And now she's pregnant. It's a bit of a problem, because I didn't want to be a father at that point. It wasn't in my interest at that point. So what do? I call my dad and say, "Hey, shit's going wild." And he's not like, "Come home, son." He's like, "You got to figure it out." And those were very hard days. And I ended up leaving my flat, and I moved in to a really small little room at the back of like a small cafe area at the back of my dad's factory. He said I could stay there. And the reason why I was moving back was because, as in moving into this little place and not from my flat, why I moved from my flat to this little place, was because I was getting harassed by this girl who supposedly said she was pregnant. And, we'd been together, and obviously I was going to become the father. During that point, they tried to break me. They came and visited me and basically said, "Look, this is why things are going wrong. You've got to accept it. This is exactly what you signed up for." I was at a very low point. At that point, I everything crossed my mind. Everything from throwing the towel in and just I just couldn't accept it, that everything they said that was going to happen started to happen. I went as far as, thinking about taking my life, or how could I change my name, disappear, all sorts of things went through my brain at that point. It wasn't a good time. I was talking to my therapist. I tried to keep stable. I wasn't. The priest every now and again visited me and kind of pointing fingers, but my dad would bring me a food once a week and put it under the door in a little tray. Not allowed to hug your mum and dad at that time, and plus I felt that I was in the wrong now, so I was trying to disconnect with all of my mates and my buddies who would help me get me out of the situation. And thank God that they continued to be my friends through all the years, and they've kind of seen me through to the final, right? But at that point, I was questioning everything, all the decisions I'd made. And then something happened. Again, that's why I'm a big believer in destiny. That they tried to break into that little room one night, and I was asleep. And I woke up. It was like 3 a.m. and I heard these guys trying to pull up the shutter, or like the door, the metal door of this, when you go into this little area at the back of my dad's factory. And Argentina, I mean, isn't the safest of places. It's not massively unsafe, but it was normal. I mean, burglars happen, right? Anyway, so I pulled a gun. I had a gun, and I was like, okay, I loaded it, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go in for a firefight, basically, and started shouting at these guys. I was like, I'm armed. I'm locked in. Like, if you're gonna come in, I'm gonna fight. And I heard them curse, and I heard them turn around and walk away or run away. And I heard them go past the back window and out over the back field, and didn't hear of them again. Made a decision that I'm leaving that next day. I'm not staying in this rat hole like a destroyed individual, and I felt that there had to be a better version of me out there somewhere. So I packed up my stuff and I left for Buenos Aires, the city, the big city. So bear in mind, I was in Bahia Blanca, which is like 400 miles south of the big city. And I moved to Buenos Aires, rented a flat, moved in, and that was February 2019. And that year, I ended my job with my parents, with my brother's business. I started to my own little business. I have an online business. I started my own business, and I met my wife in March of 2020, and just before the pandemic started. And interesting enough, when I moved to Buenos Aires after this crazy experience of, hey, you're going to be a father, you're all, everything they said was going to happen to you, you're going to end up in the gutter. I was told that the whole time. I'm going to end up a drug addict, an alcoholic in the gutter, wrecked financially. Bear in mind, Bruce Hales told me I was going to be destroyed from the inside out. I got a phone call 3 months after living in Buenos Aires. So I picked up the phone, and they're like, hey Jay, how's it going? Yeah. Do you remember me? I'm the guy from XYZ. Yeah, I remember you. How you doing? I got a good piece of news. Are you sitting down? I was like, yeah, I can sit down. Sat down. I said, you're not going to be a father. It wasn't true. And that was like the best day of my life. Not because I didn't want to, like, it's not, you'll be careful, right? You'll be careful. But it's not, it wasn't like the best day of my life, but it was like this whole sense of, I've just scored a goal, like like in the final minute of the game, and then I bought myself I adopted a little dog, and kind of just settled in the big city. I did a few things that year I wasn't proud of either. Kept doing therapy, stayed consistent with trying to find this version of myself, which I really wanted to polish and become. Managed to start building my online business, which was absolutely key for me to extract myself financially from the dependency and the codependency you have on the PBCC. And then the end of 2019, I moved back from the big city back to Bahia Blanca. And that was when my dad told me, and my brother told me, hey, you've worked here for 5 years, it's time you leave. And obviously, if you've been working somewhere for 5 years in Argentina, you get a pretty big payout. And obviously I didn't get a payout because it's my brother's business. I don't want to be a burden, and so they said, hey, probably best if you don't get a payout, you just go and sign the letter saying, hey, I resign, without no compensation. And I resigned. And my dad wasn't doing very well financially at that point, and the Brethren had made me a year before sign a letter saying I was partially responsible for the way I was for my dad's financial losses. I still have a copy of that letter. Yeah, I left my dad and brother's business, and that was October 2019. I think that's when I probably most last had like a relationship with, financial relationship with the Brethren or whatnot. A lot of stuff happened after that during the pandemic, but yeah, so I kind of started my career. I have a small marketing technology consultancy here in Argentina. We service businesses in Latin America and around the world. And yeah, and the pandemic hit, and I'd already met my future wife. And after a year and a half of now being free from this burden of not knowing if I was going to be a parent or whatnot, I met my wife through a dog as well, because I adopted another dog because I love dogs, and happened to be that her mum was the person who was putting the dog in transit. It's in transition. So I got to meet her through the little dog, and we still have the dog today. So yeah, so that's
Aw.
yeah, really nice. It's an interesting story. But yeah, just to fast forward to the pandemic, which I think is relevant for you guys. So during the pandemic, my business started to grow a bit, and we worked pretty hard, and fortunate for the conditions in the market and whatnot. Around May, I don't know why, but the brethren had been talking to me, or like emailing me, sending me WhatsApps, and I wouldn't answer them because I just didn't have any interest, and I was trying to contact my dad. My dad would never come around and see me. I'd send him pictures of like, "Hey, I'm here with the dogs. Like, you should come around and see me." He'd never answer me, or he'd answer me very infrequently. And so I decided to take a shot. I was like, okay, I'm going to answer one of these priests who have like followed me up so insistently. If they want to come and see me, they can come and see me. It was the pandemic. They're like, "How are you doing?" They thought I was probably going to be in the gutter, drug addict and alcoholic and destroyed from the inside out. So I let them come round, which was a bad decision, but a good decision. And they found me at my flat and I was working. I obviously worked remotely. And so they asked me how I was doing and whatnot. And I went through a period of my life, bear in mind, this was the pandemic. It was a very weird time. I was very busy, but I kind of thought in my mind, maybe there is a way where I can, in this weird dimension of life, because 2020, COVID-19, it was kind of a crazy time. Maybe I can kind of come back, like to see my parents and my family, but not have to go to the meetings and deal with all the bullshit and whatnot. So I gave it that chance. I gave it my best shot. And then in July 2020, they restore me. And
Wow.
I had to kind of, I come back into the Brethren for 3 or 4 months. And it was a virtual restoration through a Zoom call. And I had to like shave because I've got a lot of body hair. I had to wear a white shirt and whatnot. And thankfully I didn't have all my tattoos in because I got them later, because if not, that would have been very painful. And then I just wanted to see my dad and mum. I told my girlfriend, I was like, I just feel so like shameful that I can't see my dad and mum grow old, and I just needed. I mean, it'd been 2018, 2020, it'd been nearly 3 years. I just needed that parental touch, And two things happened. My business grew a lot that year, and they tried to interfere with my affairs. They asked me what I was doing for a job. They wanted to know the name of my customers, what services I was selling them, how I was planning my business, and where I was paying tax, what I was doing, everything I wanted to know, how much I was invoicing my customers. And interestingly enough, I kind of played along with it. I was now kind of had some emotional skill sets to kind of play along with their little game, and to the point that they tried to get me to go to UBT offices because they wanted to kind of control my business. And I was working. I'd moved back into my dad and mum's house, and I was seeing my girlfriend like here and there. I'd like make an excuse to go downtown, and I'd just go past their flat and say, "Hey, everything's okay. So, I'm going to be okay."
I was going to ask about that quick. The priest didn't know you had a girlfriend, right?
No. And look, and this is my marriage. This is the day we got married.
Wow, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. Her name is Shamila Solange, which means Shamila. Sol is the sun. So
nice.
she's my ray of sunshine. Yeah. So I wouldn't say lie to my parents, but I would partially cover the truth of what I was doing.
Yeah. You have to.
I need to go and fill up fuel, and like I'd go and see her, and how are you doing? Everything's okay. I'm doing okay. Like on the other side type thing. But she knew that I was playing the game. She knew that I was scheming something to figure something out, and I think she trusted the bigger picture. And then, surely enough, end of 2020, they were trying to get into my business. They wanted to resell. They saw some potential, I think, in something I was doing. And I have a specialization, which is in web optimization. And they wanted to resell that service through UBT to all the businesses. And I was like, hell no. Like it's my deal, right? I mean, it's not, what's in it for me type thing. I mean, like at the moment you open the floodgates, we know what happens, right? So they told my parents, they manipulated my dad and mum to stop letting me work at home. So one day I was in the office, it was around October time. My mum came into the office and said, son, like seriously, tomorrow you've got to go to the Brethren's office. Like you can't work here from home anymore. I was like, but like, why? Like, I mean, I'm not being annoying. It's not like I'm playing loud music. I'm literally locked into my computer with a screen, working 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I was building my business from scratch myself, like no one else. So I ended up conceding and I moved into the UBT office for 2 weeks. And it was so interesting. Like, and I kind of smile about it now, but at that time it was so frustrating because they didn't let me have a car at one point when I first came back. They said you shouldn't have a car for a month or two because it's, it could be a point for you to kind of do something you don't want to do. So they took the keys away from me, but that didn't last very long. After 2 weeks, I was like, give me the fucking keys back. I want my car back. I'm an adult now, Yeah. So long story short, obviously the UBT office didn't work out. And what did I do? I picked up the phone, called up the landlord that I rented my flat from all those years ago and said, hey, have you still got a flat available? I was like, yeah, of course, for you. So I've got it available. And doors open up, and he gave me the keys like the next week, moved back in. And end of January 2021, I'd moved back into my flat and unfortunately had to part ways again with my parents and just tell them that I don't think I'm doing the right thing. I apologized. I mean, I think I made the wrong choice, I think in the back of my head, I think I just wanted one more convincing experience to prove to myself that this is definitely not where I wanted to be. So that's why I always think back on that. And I've reflected on this many, many times now over the last years. Why did I make that decision? Why did I make that decision? And I think that you are going to fluctuate emotionally through this experience. You're going to have relapses. You're going to have withdrawal symptoms. And my withdrawal symptom, my relapse was kind of trying to go back to prove to myself, although there was no meetings because it was COVID, which was a benefit and advantage. Clearly it wasn't going to work out for me. And I was just basically proving to myself, this isn't where I want to be. And so I packed up my stuff. I'd done it before. I just do it again, packed up my stuff and moved back out. And then, and that was February, end of January, beginning of February 2021. And since then, lived in the flat for a year and a half, started building my own house, moved into my own house in 2022 and lived here ever since. Got married last year in November. 2024, November 2024. I say last year because it feels like last year, but there was a few things happened when I came back that really like jogged my memory of like, this is like have you heard of the saying déjà vu?
Yeah.
The rock song
Déjà
Déjà vu is when you get a flashback. It's a very Argentine thing, when you feel you've been somewhere before and you get that feeling. I had that because it was like this. So it was COVID. So the groupings of people were very small. And one night my dad and mum were going to go to a particular person's house for dinner. And I was like, I don't want to go there because I know they're going to irritate me about a bunch of things. So my younger brother, which is Dylan, went there with my dad and mum and my other younger brother, and I stayed home. And then I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up, and my younger brother was really sad. Something had gone wrong that last night, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Can you tell me?" And he said, "Such and such person laid into me last night, like punched me." I was like, "What the fuck? What's going on?" And he's like, "No, it's like I took off my shirt. It was a warm night. It was like November, so it was our summer. It's like I took off my shirt because all the guys were getting in the pool, and my younger brother was in pretty good condition. He'd been working out. It was like 17, 16, 17, no, 16, and." One of these older priestly persons said, "You got to stop what you're doing. If not, you're going to end up like your brother." And this is a 16-year-old teenager who's, I don't know, found his bicep and feels, it's everything that's good in life, and then so Dylan kind of got irritated and he laid into him. And so I picked up the phone and I called the guy. I said, "If you ever lay a finger on my younger brother again, I'm going to make it a person. I'm going to take it on personally to put you in a very uncomfortable position. Whatever it takes, I'll do it." I don't think he ever molested him again. But it was I'm not a very angry person. I'm a bit hot-headed, but I try to always kind of go about things a little bit more conversational. But I got very angry, and that was just a reminder of just like, doesn't happen out in the world. Why should we be putting up with it inside, right? So yeah, and that was just a déjà vu, like, come on, Jason, like, get yourself out of this position. Because I kind of want to stay there to protect my younger brothers, and kind of, I was already financially completely independent of the system. I'd already had enough experience in the big wide world to kind of know how things move and play. But I still had this part of my heart that just wanted to be with my family. So that was a difficult position to put me in, and took me a lot to extract myself. Although it didn't take me a lot in time, it took me a lot of my soul, I'd say. But at that point in time, I decided that was enough. That was my second taste. I was like, no, this is not working out. I'm getting back out. And yeah, I got back out, and then started living with my girlfriend, and then 4 years later we got married, and the rest is history. But yeah, that's my undramatic story.
No, it's not undramatic. And I think you've got a very successful business too, right? Like, this shows that you can leave, get out, and literally, like, what you've built from the ground up is very successful. I do want to take a little bit of a step back into the congregation of Argentina and where you were at. So yeah, like, can you just give us a little rundown on how that locality was ran, what it was like for you living there, and how your parents made out living in there?
Yeah, so I think a week or two ago, my dad came to my house. He didn't want to have a coffee, but he was okay with water. I don't know why he came. He asked me a question which will be the perfect segue to what you just asked. He said, and he wanted to see me because he asked me if there was anything he had done ever that had put distance between myself and Christ. And I was like, first of all, he sent me a text message asking me that question. I was like, Dad, I'm not going to answer that over a text message. I don't believe that it's the right appropriate context to answer such a deep question. Yeah. I think it requires a face-to-face conversation. So he came around, and I said to him, Dad, like, you were a fantastic dad. We had some hard times, we had some good times. I don't know if there's anything in particular I can say that you did to me that affected or made the situation as it is today. But there were things that happened, like locally, that very much sowed the seeds to a disconnection, and realizing that clearly this wasn't the place I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And I think the two biggest events, the first was when my mum got pregnant of Dylan. So I'm only 10 or 11. So I'm a young kid, sorry. I'd been in Argentina only for a couple of years to kind of get in your feet, and my dad and my mum were, for some reason, decided to expand the family. As things happen. And my mum at that point wasn't that young. She would have been 44, because she then had my younger brother at 48. So she was old. My sister was obviously still, she hadn't left home yet, as in she wasn't married. My brother was just about to get married. No, he wasn't married yet. And she needed help. She needed help with cleaning. She needed help with looking after the home and that. And there was some stuff going on in Argentina at that point. I can't really remember exactly what it was, but basically Argentina was quite laid back, in other words, And they told us that nobody was allowed to go in or go out of Bahia Blanca. Bear in mind, in 2005 was this car accident where a whole family were tragically killed. And it was just around that period of time. So there was a lot of spotlight tension on Bahia Blanca. And basically, Bruce Hales and the powers of be, just the people that managed the whole thing authoritarianly, said that no help was allowed to go to anybody in Bahia Blanca or coming in and out, other than very specific people. So we went through about 2 years where no people came in, no visitors, no new faces. And we were only 50 people, right? And we were called the Outpost. And the point I'm going to go to specifically was, it was after a meeting. So it was in the evening, it was 8, 9 p.m. And we were in the back of our car. I remember we had a not so flashy car because my dad wasn't, it was that time when it was starting to get cool to have flashy cars, And my dad had like a normal car. I can't remember what the car. I think it was a Peugeot 807 or something, or a Volkswagen. But we were in the back of the car, and I was sitting in the middle. Royden was here on the right, and Louise was on the left. And my mum was sitting on the next to my dad. And they put the window down, and two priests were talking to my dad, and they were arguing that my mum needed help. My dad said my mum needs help. Jill needs help for the birth of this my younger brother, and she only wanted her sister or her own mother to come across and help. And they kept saying that my dad needed to stop bucking against the locals and the local, and I remember my mum just like weeping, and it was like, it was horrible. It was horrible. They were like shouting at my dad through the window. Like my dad was like, she's just a woman, like she needs help. And bear in mind, my mum never spoke the language. She's in a strange place. They used to call it the outpost. It's like in the middle of nowhere. Like I live here now and it's my home, but it's like in the middle of nowhere. Like, I mean, it's a strange place, it's not, I was going to say Winnipeg, but like it's a windswept outpost. You know where I'm going, right? It's not like the south of London where you got, do 10 miles, you got your cousin, and we're in the middle. No, we don't know, no family here. The minimum she could have had was help. And there they were restricting the help that she should have had at childbirth, and that she didn't get it. And I saw it. And I remember we went home, and she sat on the stairs, and I sat next to her, and we both cried. And I was in like 11, 10 or 11. And those are the kind of moments which, like, now as an adult, I would just love to, be a fly on the wall, and then just like suddenly, stand up and say, guys, help's coming. Like I can't now, right? Like, I mean, it is what it is. But that was one of the most probably influential things that happened, that also started, just sowing those seeds of, well, this is definitely something going on very strange, that I'm not comfortable with. And then there's another event, which is right around that time, very strange time, there was an individual in my locality that had got into some issues or problems with whatever, and he had a son as well, and he ended up leaving, or they withdrew from. I can't actually remember what happened. It was just around that time. And at that point, Bruce Hales comes to Bahia Blanca to give a meeting right after this terrible accident had happened. And he sat like right in front of me. There's only 2 rows of people, and then the female, like the women behind, because always the guys have got to be on the front row and the women behind. And he sat there in the middle of the meeting, completely red in the face, and the whole meeting was him just shouting and pointing fingers. And he said, "This happened because of you," and he pointed around. And I remember like him pointing at me, and then he kept saying about people need to be smashed, and he made the analogy of the vehicle in the accident, and like the level of like disconnection with reality is just, I can't explain it. Like, you can't compare those two things.
It's so damaging.
It's so damaging. But at that point, he was like angry. And then I was going through this bit of rebellious stage. And I remember the brethren, the priests coming around to my house a few weeks after, have you written down your notes from the meeting, and how do you feel? Like, and then we had all of this session where we'd have to all take accountability for what had happened. And I remember saying, yes, I'd held hands with this girl at the skating park, and like, I can't explain that the storm that was brewing inside me. And that was also a really interesting time, because I was very much open about my uncertainty about everything that was going on. And I was very rebellious, as I said at the beginning. But one of the things they kept saying to me is that I should stop asking questions. And I was just told to stop asking questions. Like, you shouldn't ask questions. And I was curious. So, yeah, I think that's something that happened. And Bahia Blanca was a very strange place. It was managed by 3 or 4 individuals. Some of them which didn't treat me very well at one point when I was going through my when I was already a teenager and I was going through my priestly stage where I'd be confessing my sins. I think I told you I had to write down. They asked me to create a checklist of all of my sins, and I'd every day have to email it off to them. And if by midday I hadn't
Oh
emailed
my
it, they would ask my dad, like, "Hey, is he okay? Like, has he sent? Have you seen him? Like, has he sent his checklist?" And yeah. So, and the weird thing is, like, knowing that all of these individuals knew all about my intimate life, like just crazy. They call it the purity checklist. That's what it was called, personal purity checklist.
Oh my God.
And
PPC,
I
personal purity check.
yeah, and I had to kind of go into quite a lot of detail. Yeah, and I remember like now I kind of is what it is. I don't think it shapes who I am today because I kind of put all this behind me, and thanks to years of therapy and kind of going trying to unlearn things. But it's very strange, borderline pedo. I wouldn't say pedophile because I was already a teenager, but it's
borderline though, because think
corrupt,
of being a grown man and every day you're getting a checklist in your email and you open up, oh, you masturbated today. Oh, what the fuck?
And how
like
and
that's
how and how and yeah and how we did it.
Times.
And you had to describe how you did it? You had to describe how you did it?
I had points in time.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yeah.
That's no normal human being requires or wants that information from another person. Nobody. No. That is fucked.
I'm sorry, Jason. That is very messed up. Wow.
It's fine because I think that, like, I've just talked about this with definitely shared these experiences with my wife, and again, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, I've just learned to unlearn things. And
yes, exactly.
And I don't, other than this type of conversation, I don't go out of my way to go back there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's been my boundary, and it's really rescued me from many. As I said, I've been all over the place emotionally when I was in my early 20s. So I appreciate being able to open up and you guys understanding, because you've been there, seen that, done things similar, and experienced these real things. And people think it's like, when I told my wife, she's just like, you've got to go to the police.
Exactly.
And I had other very, very concerning situations when I was a young chap around our locality that I definitely can't go into on this podcast.
Yeah.
But very, very concerning, which I've talked about with my wife, and I'm not free to share them, but that would definitely have legal implication when I was very, very young.
Class action lawsuits should be coming. But let me put it that way, in the future, because this kind of behavior and crimes happening in all different countries, it's abuse, right? And it has injury, right? That's the thing. It creates a mental health injury, and you are culpable for that.
The really strange thing about the PBCC is, in their congregations, in their church meetings, and in their houses, sex is not even mentioned, and children don't get a sex education. And again, the situation you found yourself in with a girlfriend claiming to be pregnant may well have been down to the absence of any sensible parental
sex education
instruction
on
contraception, which is banned. And so if you read their ministry, there's thousands of volumes and the word sex doesn't even appear in there. It's as if it doesn't exist. It's as if reproduction doesn't happen. And at the same time, behind the scenes, in secret, even as we sit here today, hundreds of teenagers, young children all around the globe are being sat down today in the back rooms of business premises, in bedrooms, in cars, being fed whiskey and asked to talk about the intimate details of their personal life. Have you masturbated? How did you do it? What did you do with this person? All this stuff is going on today while we speak. This isn't a one-off. This is a daily occurrence all around the globe in the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church.
And that has to stop. And that's one of the main reasons I decided to make this decision of talking and sharing my stories, to protect and raise awareness with the younger guys, especially my younger brothers, who I really care about the most. I mean, I care about everybody, but it has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. And the lack of, in the real world, if something's going on a bit strange in a family, generally it's like the teachers or the tutors see something, they raise a flag, then you have the social services come in. You don't have that.
Mm-mm.
So you have no accountability, and you can't talk with anybody but the people who are ultimately questionably in a position that could be compromised or corrupt. And already having that level of doubt is extremely dangerous. So you can't make any religious claims if all of this other stuff doesn't tie up. So I'm really passionate about, at some level, what we can do as through communication and through making driving awareness, how these young people can be protected, because I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through. I prefer it to be treated with respect and with very, very parental guidance, not with priests who have absolutely no reason to know details that are completely unique to an individual. And
it's
I
not as
honestly
if they have any
yeah.
training. I mean, it's not as if they're
No, that's
great
what I'm saying. Like they're not
counselors.
prepared. They're not even your parents. They're not psychologists or therapists or medical professionals. They're completely unbridled control.
And some of them are creeps, right? Like
Yeah.
just to go on to what you're saying. Like I remember one time I got in trouble for making out with and fooling around with a girl in the church, and I was probably 16. And my grandfather, David Admiral, was the priest, right? And he kept going to his phone and getting calls from Kirkpatrick. I think it was John Kirkpatrick, who's dead now.
Roger
He was the
Kirkpatrick.
Roger Kirkpatrick.
Yeah.
Yes, Roger Kirkpatrick in Australia. He was the doctor there. And he was getting the questions to ask me from Roger Kirkpatrick. And there sits down my grandfather and goes, okay, when you were making out with her, who undressed who first? My grandpa asking me that. Where did you touch her? Where did she touch you? It was fucking disgusting. It's just my grandpa asking me this. And then he goes back to and comes back from Roger Patrick. We need more detail, right? Like that is disgusting. And to think that these priests are doing this all the time, like Richard is saying, this is happening right now. They have zero training. They don't know a thing about pastoral care or empathy, right? I just wanted to make a couple points on your story, though, Jason, that kind of hit me. Like, I loved how you were talking about when you were young and you met a young girl, right? When you were rollerblading, right? And you just made a connection with her, and she wasn't evil, right? And it clicked with me because I had such similar experiences when I was a kid. It's like you've been taught and told how bad they are, and you meet them, and you're like, no, like they're not. Right? Like, so what else are they lying about? And then you were saying how when you met with Bruce Hales too, one of the things was that you didn't want to break your friendships, right? You didn't want the separation because, right, when you look at it, you break that down, it's because it's unnatural, right? It's unnatural. You meet someone as a child, an innocent child, and you meet another kid and you like them and you want to get along. And then all of a sudden this adult is like, no, they're evil. And you're like, well, no, they're not. Like I hung out with them, they're really nice. And it's that that young mind realizing that this isn't accurate, right? This isn't natural. It feels wrong. And that's why, in my opinion, hearing your story about, going back, it's because you missed your parents. It's unnatural. You had a great relationship with your parents. They were good to you. And it's unnatural that you couldn't see them for years, right? That's the human in you, right? The humanity that you felt connections with humans, and they just go, nope, that's wrong. So that was my points. I just loved your story, and I really connected with that.
What would you say to those insiders in there right now that have their eyes open? They're trying to get everything in line to leave. You're such an inspiration, Jason, not only with how you articulate everything, but because you have been able to grow something from the ground up. You've done so much therapy, and you've just got this insight into understanding and cultivating who we know lives inside us. What would you say to those insiders in there to try and help them keep their head above water as they navigate the tsunami that's going on inside there?
Thanks. I don't know if I'm the best person to give out any advice, but just one thing comes to mind is that it's always a good time to do the right thing and make a decision, but you have to be considerate. You have to plan. I think you've got to give yourself a chance. Like, I believe everybody deserves a chance, and there is, the freedom to freedom comes at a cost, right? It's going to cost you something, and you're going to have to assume that at some point. Although, yes, it's always the right time to do the right thing, but if you can minimize the cost of the freedom, you're going to probably be more successful, and the math is probably going to be in your favor. I strongly recommend people to build small, well-nurtured communities. Treat your outsider friends like their brethren and plus, because they're going to be the people that are going to see you through. And no, not everyone wants to take your money or have sex with you, or to get you to become a drug addict. That was what I was told. You know what? I don't have any friends who are drug addicts, and most of them don't even drink. So not everyone out in the world wants to take advantage of you. Yes, there are going to be people who want to take advantage of you, just like there are everywhere. Build a strong community, be diligent about planning, and give yourself a chance, because you deserve it. And I think, just like I had withdrawals, you're going to have moments where you're going to be like, I'm not too sure of my decision. I would say you're going to have your déjà vu moments where you're going to realize, I don't want to be here again. This is a place I've already experienced. And you're going to have the fight or flight mode, where you kind of pre-panic attack, where you're like, your body tells you you don't want to be here. If you're getting those symptoms, then you just need to start planning and reverse engineering what that D-Day looks like. And ultimately, I would be very, very cautious about recommending, irrational decisions. I think, these life-changing decisions come at a very high cost, as I said, and I don't underestimate that. But the good news is that every day is a new day. It's a new opportunity, and you can. There is a high percentage that if you do the right thing and you plan, you will be successful. And just like anything in life, whether it's business, whether it's sport, I mean, I have my half marathon here, and my marathon one is, I don't have my marathon one actually, but I like running. Like in anything in life, if you're diligent and you put in the time and you really think about it unemotionally, you will be successful. Like, it's not guaranteed, but it's highly likely. So turn that curiosity into resolution, and really start to plan. Pull up a Notion page or and plan your life and think, well, okay, when can I make this decision? How can I make it? Psychological support. I need some level of financial freedom. I need to think about what the decisions I am making it. If you have resolution, it's more likely you'll end up making the decision, not going back. Not like me, who made the mistake of trying to go back and figuring shit out again. So I don't have much more other than that, but I think it's I'm never at a position in my life where I look back on the decision I made and reconsider that it wasn't beneficial. My life remarkably changed the moment I matured, because there's a life process that you need to go through. And as I said, the first year is going to be turbulent. Go into it with very low expectations, and you'll see it through. But as things kind of start getting into place, and you understand how to orchestrate things in your life and kind of get everything lined, and you get rid of the bad and kind of bring in some good, you become the master of your destiny. And I know things can happen in life. Believe me, I have friends who have had terminal illnesses. I've seen all sorts of things in life happen. I've seen friends who have lost lives in car accidents, and anything can happen. Where you are today, you're in the present. You make a decision, you stick with it, and you continue to go back to the reason why you made that resolution. Because as I have tattooed literally on my chest, like, freedom's never free. Like for me, it was
Love it.
freedom. Like I wanted to camp. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go to rock festivals. I wanted to meet the woman of my dreams, the partner of my dreams, and build a family with her. I wanted a house with a pool, for example, or a bar, whatever. I don't care. Like your reasons are going to be different to mine, but the process is going to be more or less the same. So I think, I think a little bit of planning and instruction is really what it takes, and set yourself expectations, and definitely extract yourself from the host, because the host is what controls you, and every of those dependencies, they need you to exist. Like that they need you to exist. So the moment you move yourself out, you're doing yourself, I think, you're putting yourself in a position of advantage. And the moment you start to open your mind, you realize how many things you have to unlearn and relearn things, and that's when I think life comes back and plays some cards in your favor.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say to Bruce?
Oof. I'd like to have a one-on-one.
Yeah. Wouldn't we all?
I don't. No, I to be honest, actually, I probably wouldn't want to have a one-on-one, mainly because I don't think at this point there'll be any changes in people's behavior or demeanor.
No.
All I will say is thank you for convincing me to leave back in the day. You did a really good job at it. You got a diploma.
I love that.
How to make a young person feel like a piece of shit for 20 minutes. You have a master's in that. I think you've obviously been very on surface. It looks like you've been successful in some areas of your life. I'm pleased that you like to show that. But what I'm not so pleased is that I don't ever want to find out how any of my family or my loved ones have been affected by your authoritarian control. That's the only thing I'll say, because then it becomes very, very personal.
Yeah.
And that's why I was also very considerate about taking this conversation, because I thought it might have an impact on my family. And I'm putting it out there as a statement that if it does, it will be personal with me, because I think that we need freedom of choice, freedom of speech. And I really wish that things will change. And I do believe change is coming. I'm very confident in that.
Yes, very much so it is. Yeah, whether he likes it or not, it's coming. Yeah. Let's just have a little bit of an insight into your life now. Do you have any pictures and stuff that you can share with us that show what you've been up to?
Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen.
Okay. And are you okay with insiders reaching out to you?
Sure. Talk to me. Okay. Where do I start? A little bit about me. So yeah, I have a small technology marketing business. And then I also have an agency, like a B2B agency. So that's a little bit about me. I love, technology. I love online business. That's kind of my, what I've been doing for the last 6-7 years. It's kind of what I like. It's giving me the freedom to travel mainly, see the world, do things I like, everything from, reading good books, cooking, watching movies, spending time with my wife, working out, traveling. I love traveling. And interestingly enough, in one of my businesses, I'm partnered with another person who contacted me, because when I left, there was no one in Argentina who had left. And he contacted me once he left. And he now works with me, funnily enough, on one of the businesses.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. So I'll just share some random stories. And okay, so this is when I got engaged. And I got engaged. I got it tattooed on my. Yeah, I got it tattooed on my arm as the 25th of May, 2024. Yeah. And interestingly enough, the 25th of May in Argentina is Liberation Day.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. So that's when we were liberated
in the mountains.
Good on you. There's something special. We're very mountainy people, as in we like the lakes and the rivers and stuff. We like to fish and hike and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, those are beautiful photos.
The ring was really big because she didn't know anything about it, but yeah, she's the sunshine of my life. So she's amazing. So what else? Yeah, we've sailed a bit. We sail around Greece, which is always fun. With friends.
Wow. Do you know how to sail?
I do. I learned how to sail.
Amazing.
Yeah.
My wife and I are thinking of doing that too, because we have some friends that have done that. You like it? Like, did you take
I do.
lessons and everything?
Yep, I did the lessons, and you get the then you get your basically like your driver license for boats. Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
so then you can go and rent a yacht and take it
You
out
can
for like a
rent a
week or two.
yacht. You can, yeah, catamaran yacht, motor yacht. Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah, and it's cheap as well. It's not too bad. What it costs a hotel is like, I mean, you're not. I mean, it's not ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
There are certain places like Croatia where I'd recommend is. There are some places that are really expensive, but like Croatia, Greece, but not mainland Greece. Go to the opposite direct, like Kefalonia, Spartia, which is like where you've got like all of the big places where everyone goes, which is like Mykonos and all of Santorini. The
Oh,
other opposite direction, so the other side. The other
okay.
side is like where the real thing. Well, I prefer it anyway. It's a lot less
Less
touristy.
touristy.
Yeah.
See, and
Uh,
to the listeners right now, that are Brethren members, I want you to really soak into what Jason was just talking about, because those are things that you won't be able to experience if you stay in there, right? There's
yeah,
so much to life, so many millions of things to try and do when you get freedom.
yeah. Like go to rock and roll concerts.
Nice.
You can't die and not go to rock and roll. So yeah, we went to a few concerts. What else? I like surfing.
I
So
see
we surf.
that.
We both surf. Yeah. So that's always fun. What else? Being around, but I have dogs. So which is always fun.
What's
Here are
one
my
of your favorite
doggies.
countries you've been to?
Oh, are those all your dogs? Yeah.
Yeah, and cats.
Uh,
Yeah, what my favorite country are probably hands down after Argentina it would be Greece. I love Greece. I love olive
Nice.
oil, coffee, wine, like that type of vibe is kind of the, yeah, I like it. So yes, what else? I have friends. I made friends over the years. Obviously, these are two of my buddies. Hila lives in Australia. She's a very, very close friend of mine. This is me when I was a little lad.
aw.
And I quoted this song. I think this was a bit of a low point. 2022, I quote this song. It says, "You don't want to be high like me, never really knowing why like me. You don't ever want to step off that roller coaster and be all alone. You don't want to ride the bus like this, never knowing who to trust like this. You don't want to be stuck up on that stage singing. All that I know are sad songs, darling. All that I know are sad songs." And it's
Aw.
interesting. It's an interesting song by Avicii. But I published this because it had been 4 years since I'd left, and this was some
Mm.
of my last pictures. This was when I was in Australia, actually, well, just around when I spoke to Bruce Hales,
Is that your
and this is
family?
my younger
Wow.
brother. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's my dad and my mum, my two younger brothers. I have an older brother and older sister, but they're not obviously with us anymore. Here's my
Hmm.
brother, my dad. This is my old man. So yeah, I mean, family is very close to the heart.
Do you think they're secretly proud of what all you've accomplished?
I don't know if I've accomplished much, but I'm of a pain in their heart, a little bit like me
Yeah.
not being able to see them. They probably feel the same, you know.
Yeah,
So I don't
exactly.
honestly know. I don't know. I don't know, Cheryl. It's a good question. I hope they are. I hope the one thing I would wish is that they are proud and they're at peace with who I've become and
Hmm.
what I'm building, because you're always growing. You never have it figured out. So I just think, yeah. So yeah, I love mountains. I love going up the mountains. So yeah, just like traveling, and that is always something we like. What else? This is when I got engaged. Um, so I published a bunch of stuff about my work.
Of
This is when
course, yeah.
I can't remember what I ran here. I ran something with my girl. 4:55. I don't know. That was the time per
Nice. That's
kilometer.
fast.
That's not too bad. Yeah, and oh, this is my stag party. This is fun. So this is before I got married with the guys.
Aw, that looks like
So
fun.
yeah, lots of food. Yeah, on the boat. It was fun. Yeah. So
Awesome.
these are some of my buddies. Yeah. That was cool. And then this is our wedding.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Amazing.
yeah, it was
Beautiful.
amazing. Yeah, it was a really, really nice day. 30th of
That's
November.
awesome.
Uh, good for
Yeah.
you.
And yeah, we had a lovely outside marquee, and then we had like a bit of a, like in the evening we turned on the lights and made the tennis into a bit of a club vibe, which was kind of cool. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was amazing. And then this was our honeymoon, which was pretty chill. We just basically rented a villa and chilled out for a few days on on a wine
Nice.
estate, there's a lot of wine places here, by the way, in Argentina.
Awesome.
This is a 1946 Semillon Bernardo, these plants are like that fat at the bottom. Like these are
Wow.
great grapes. So yeah. And then what else? This was New Year, I think last year. No, 2024. Yeah, last year. My mum-in-law, got on really well with her. She's been really helpful to me. Great person, really
Aw,
strong character. Kind of come up
Awesome.
from nothing, and she's always a good person to talk to. And yeah, oh, this was in New Orleans the other day. Went there for visit some friends, and yeah, and what
nice.
else? This is obviously some follow-up pictures from when we got engaged.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, all
Your
good,
life,
happy days.
no, your life is awesome, man. I love
Yeah.
hearing stories like this of rather than that come out and you say, oh, it's not dramatic. It's the good kind of drama. You know,
No,
Yeah.
you
100%.
you're a
Yeah.
success, you're happy. And what I loved hearing your story is, and you made references a couple times, is taking the bad and turning it into good, right?
Hmm.
It's so easy to leave a life like that behind and just focus on how awful it was and how terrible it was and really never get out of the hole, right? Or you can take those same experiences and go, wow, I never want to be like that. They told me that I can't have
Hmm.
education. Now I want to go to university, or now I want to learn everything that I can learn. Like that's what sparked it for me too, was being told, no, in a way. And I was like, well, why? But yeah, your story was amazing. You've taken the pain, you've done the therapy and the learning, right? Like it's that self-learning and it's unlearning that
Exactly.
we do when we come out, that really helps us reframe everything we went to, and we can now look at life again with a positive outlook, be like, wow, I'm going to take these experiences and make them help me be more understanding, more empathetic, and a better human.
Yeah. And it's why therapy is so important, right? Like it is in order to unlearn what we learned. Therapy is just one of those things that it's a must. It really is a must.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've experienced this over the different stages. I think there's points in your life when you have my therapist now for a couple of months, and we talk every now and again. But there are periods in my life where it was I would keep unraveling a little bit every week or every month, and then you
Mhm.
just keep as I said earlier, like when you embark on a journey like leaving, now there's a lot more information. 2018 there was very little, or a lot less. And I remember having a friend in England who had left. I think he was he left his different circumstances. I think he had a different choices or whatever, but he left different reasons. But I talked with him. It wasn't like overly helpful, but he was a contact. It was like, yeah, like whatever, thumbs up, thumbs down. But when I embarked, I didn't know if I'd ever arrive. Like I thought, but at least I'm going to prove to myself that I'm going to give
Mhm.
myself a chance. And that's all you
Yeah.
need, really, really.
Mhm.
And then, as I said, the rest is just kind of reducing risk. Keep reducing risk by planning and setting yourself up for success, and just reduce the amount of dependencies, and tie down any loose ends, untie any knots, and just make sure that you've thought things through, and be prepared for it to be tough, because it's going to be tough, but god damn, it's worth it. And as I believe, I don't think there's no price on freedom. And just like slaves used to
Exactly.
be, gladiators used to have to fight for their freedom, we have to fight for it in a different way.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's our battle, and I think we need to tell the story. And you're going to have scars, but they're going to be things you're going to share with other people around a bonfire one day in the middle of the mountains, after you've hunted down some rainbow trout, and that's going to be worth it. Believe me, it'll be worth it. And I was looking back the other day. It's obviously I went back during the pandemic for like a couple of months. We weren't exactly going to meetings and not what, which was a lot better. But when I left in 2018, the world was very different as it is today. But I think this advantage of people being able to listen to real stories that aren't bullshit. And I don't think, I don't have anything against the way I was brought up, and I'm not here to, pour shame on my parents or things like that. Quite the
Mhm.
contrary. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity I was given. But if you believe you can fly, goddamn fly. give yourself it. Like, you deserve it. Like, just once you've made that decision, I would recommend. It's not going to be easy, and I wouldn't recommend anyone to make the decision if they don't feel they're ready for the ride. But if you feel you've got it in you, please do, because I think everyone deserves the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's super important to remember. I just want to go back on something you had said about, like, you get told that all these things are going to happen to you. And then when you get out there and you start fumbling, it is not because of you being out here. That is programming. So we are what we have been taught. We are the environment that we've been brought up in. So when these bad things start happening to you, it is not because you left the PBCC. It is because of the programming that your brain has from the PBCC, being told that this stuff is going to happen to you. Mistakes are going to happen. You are going to feel like you're screwing up. You're going to feel like you're fumbling. That is normal, going from a cult to your freedom. So don't beat yourself up for the things that are happening to you. It is not because of what they said is happening to you. That is their programming. I want to just say thank you, Jason, for coming on here, sharing your experiences. We know without question that every single story shared here reaches someone still inside, helps wake them up, helps them to reflect and realize that they're not alone. And that brings me directly to those inside the hierarchy of Plymouth Brethren Christian Church who continue to listen, because we know you do. If this organization truly is what it claims to be, a mainstream Christian church built on care, compassion, and accountability, then that accountability has a very clear starting point. You check in with every survivor who has spoken out. You would listen. You acknowledge harm. You don't erase people by pretending they don't exist. Ignoring this is a decision, whether you admit it or not. After 157 episodes, the fact that not one survivor has been contacted with genuine care that have spoken out speaks louder than any podcast, website, or press statement ever could. And as long as that silence continues, there is no credibility in objecting when this organization is called what it presents itself as from the outside: a high control group that avoids accountability, and a cult. Accountability doesn't begin with image management. It begins with people, real people who lived inside your system and were harmed by it. Until that happens, we will continue to share these stories, we will continue to witness them, and we will continue to call things by their proper name. Pretending it didn't happen does not undo the harm. Until next time, everyone, much love to everyone out there needing the extra hug and support. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
How can you support Get a Life podcast? You can donate internationally via PayPal at www.paypal.me/getalifepodcast. Or you can scan the QR code on your screen that takes you to our GoFundMe. Every donation helps keep this project alive. If you are in a high-demand religious group and need help, please go to oliveleaf.network. To share your story or be a guest on the show, email info.getalife@proton.me. You can find all our Get a Life merchandise on our website at www.getalife.net. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to Get a Life, and comment.